Hi everybody, John here. So this is going to be my entry video to the thread, the anti-war thread. Mr. Finglish at Bad English Rex called it War Sucks, and there's another guy made a video fairly early on called High Noon's Vinyl. I think his name's Tim. His video was protest / anti-war songs, and both of those videos were put together to try and sort of start a thread of VC people, I don't know, just sort of contributing to the discussion of what's going on in Ukraine, the attack by Russia onto Ukraine, which is a sovereign nation, and you know, people having to flee, that sort of stuff. I haven't seen many videos, or any videos apart from those two, that are addressing this right now. And I guess, yeah, we're not really a political group, are we, in the vinyl community? But I do think this could be an interesting thing to do, and just to show sort of solidarity and support. So I've pulled out some records here that I'm going to show, and they've each got some sort of anti-war protest songs on them. I'll just quickly show and talk about, and I'll say that's my video. So first of all, Simon and Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme. The very last track on this album, I'm sure everybody knows, you know, it's not a rare, obscure album by any means, is it? Let's face it. But the very last track is called 7 o'clock News / Silent Night. So on this track you'll hear Simon Garfunkel singing Silent Night in their way that they do, very nice and subtle, and it's sort of mashed up with news headlines that are sort of being played alongside it or over the top of it. It's sort of a juxtaposition, so you've got this nice peaceful Silent Night Christmas spirit thing, and then all the sort of death and destruction really that's going on in the news. A lot of the things were about, you know, civil rights movement, that sort of stuff, but there's also parts in that sort of news broadcast about the Vietnam War. There's something that a sentiment that President Richard Nixon makes. He was only the vice president at the time, but he said something like, you know, the people that are protesting against this Vietnam War that was happening at the time were sort of anti-American, or I can't remember exactly how he said it. I'll put it here.
In Washington, the atmosphere was tense today as a special subcommittee of the House Committee on Un-American Activities continued its probe into anti-Vietnam War protests. Demonstrators were forcibly evicted from the hearings when they began chanting anti-war slogans. Former Vice President Richard Nixon says that unless there is a substantial increase in the present war effort in Vietnam, the U.S. should look forward to 5 more years of war. In a speech before the Convention of the Veterans of Foreign Wars in New York, Nixon also said opposition to the war in this country is the greatest single weapon working against the U.S. That's the 7 o'clock edition of the news.
And that's obviously quite a dangerous sentiment. Not unlike really what's going on in Russia. You know, you hear that the media there at the moment is sort of banned from mentioning even the word war or anything like that, and people that go outside and demonstrate about what's happening are just hustled off in a lorry, I assume arrested. So that's my first record, my first song I'm going to show. Next song, I don't know if it's really a sort of a protest song, but it's certainly a peace song. Beautiful track. It's a band called BT Express, very funk, soul funk band from the States. This is, I think, their first or their second album. Really good. I've always liked that picture. Look at that. It's such a cool band. Anyway, they have a song on here. The first track of the album actually is called Peace Pipe. And there's some beautiful lyrics in this. Not only is it a really, really catchy, amazing, like groovy funk song, um, but there are sort of words in the verses and in the middle eights that are just so relevant. So I'll see if I can put those in here, because they just make so much sense now. Right? Everybody get a little baby, put it on your feet, please, and pass it around. Let some love, some understanding, and add a little humanity. Put in some faith, put in some kindness, line it up and pass it to me. Smoke it all up, what you say? Mama, lift it up. Smoke it all up, hungry. Mama, live. Smoke it all up, smoke it all up. Then there's some truth with some compassion. And a spoon of brotherly love. Then mama line, oh, that Peace Pipe, really what it is, it's just a song all about, you know, let's get together and share peace amongst us and spread it around, you know. So that's great. Third song I'm going to talk about is on this record, appropriately called Remembrance Days. Through Poppy Fields and Remembrance Days is a beautiful track. The Dream Academy are one of my favourite British bands. I've always liked them. I remember when this came out, I listened to it over and over and over again. And it's one of those records that even now I return to. Now the very last track on this is it's more of a protest song. It's not so much a war song, but it's relevant because it talks about dictatorship. Now the song I'm talking about is called In Exile, in brackets, for Rodrigo Reyes. Rodrigo Reyes apparently was a young photographer who took lots of pictures, you know, of some of the things that were happening in Chile at the time, and you know, obviously Pinochet, he didn't really want the truth coming out. He didn't want people taking record of what was happening, and this guy, Rodrigo Reyes, ended up getting killed. And what really happened was, sadly, he burnt alive, you know. Now Pinochet's version, or his army's version, was that the photographer and his sort of friends were carrying petrol bombs, Molotov cocktails, and they dropped them, and then they accidentally got satellite, and that's how this guy burned. But the photographer's friend's story was that they got attacked by the forces in Chile. The photographer was severely beaten, and after they'd done that, they just poured petrol on him and set him alight. Rolled him up in a, you know, sack or something, and dumped him 20 miles away from where it all happened, and dumped him in a sort of rural ditch. Now fortunately, somebody found him and took him, I think the police found him, took him into the hospital, and the hospital tried very hard to save his life, but he had sort of, you know, severe burns and broken bones and things, and punctured lung, and he died. So this song is all about that, but the lyrics in this song sort of address Pinochet and his sort of ridiculous regime that he had, of his sort of dictatorship of Chile. So, well, that's perhaps not exactly what we're looking at, but there's some relevance there, I think.
Surrounded by slugs, invaded by soldiers, invaded by death, unlimited escalates terror, provoking intensive civil unrest.
And the last song is this one. This is an album by a band called The Men They Couldn't Hang. Sort of an alternative pop rock group, I suppose, from Britain. 1985 this came out. So there's a song on here which is called The Green Fields of France, in brackets, No Man's Land. They didn't write the song. The song was written by somebody else, and the original is really sort of quite a folk type thing. And but they do a really good job of picking up this song and relaying the song down in such a sort of venomous sort of way. It's all about a guy, the name of a soldier that I think died in the First World War, and the person, sort of, if you like, the protagonist in the song, is asking this young lad, you know, was it all worth it? Did you get the glory and the you know, all that war is supposed to be about? Suggesting that, you know, he died in vain because this young man never really lived his life, and now he's in a grave, and that's what war does to people. I mean, it's a powerful song, and it's quite a strong message in there. But I do know this, that somebody has written a response to this, where it sort of switches the song round, and rather than somebody looking at this grave with this young man where he's buried, it's voicing the words of the young man that's died, who essentially says, you know, he's quite proud of what he did. He stood up for freedom and against tyranny. He put his life on the line because he was raised to hold those things, you know, dear, and to fight for them, and that's what he's done. Don't know if I did a great job of explaining that, but I'll see if I can put the details here. But it's a beautiful song, and it's a bit of an earworm, I'll say, because once you get this tune in your head, it stays there for a day or two. But it's quite nice because it is a very poignant song, and sort of really, this is really relevant for right now. Anyway, so those are my 4 protest songs I'm going to show on the records. I encourage everybody else to do something similar. You know, continue this thread on through the VC. I'm sure we've all got an opinion about what's happening, and I think it would be tremendous support for people who, you know, perhaps aren't even in the VC that are concerned about this, that they see that we're sort of talking about it and discussing it and sharing it amongst us. Okay, everybody. Thanks very much. Oh, and yeah, a message to Mr. Finglish. I can see, you know, you're having a pretty rough time. I get that. You know, your country, Finland, is right beside Russia, and Finland has borne aggression from Russia before in the past. And Putin's even said, hasn't he, about Finland and Sweden shouldn't even think about joining NASA. It could, I can imagine it's probably quite, you know, worrying time for people that live in that area. I'm glad I'm not in Sweden right now, that's all I can say. But anyway, Godspeed to you. Okay, thanks very much everybody, bye.